Hey, yo, what is up, everybody? My name is Chandler Molyneux, and welcome into the Act First show, where we help coaches and closers get better at sales, and we also talk about personal development as well. This episode, we're going to be talking about sales. I got one question for you. Are you sick and tired of putting all of this effort in to get a lead booked? You see the lead on your calendar, you're excited for the call, another opportunity to change a life, another opportunity to make some money, and then you show up to the appointment and they don't show. Or worse, they cancel prior to the appointment, or they ask to reschedule and they never actually get back to you. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. I've been in the coaching space for 10 freaking years. I've done over 8 figures in online coaching sales, and I've learned a thing or two about getting your appointments to show. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about on this beautiful yellow notepad right here. Yes, I'm very old school. I'm only 29 years old, but I'm an old soul. And one of the things I love is I love pen to paper. I love preparing for these podcasts, these YouTube shows on pen to paper. And like I said, what we're going to talk about today is 7 ways to improve your show up rate. All right, first thing I want to do though, I want to set the ground rules. What exactly is considered a good show up rate? Now, there's a lot of different opinions here. All right, I'm going to give my opinion through experience. So this is not just a theory. This is through 10 years of experience of what I noticed and what tends to be a good show up rate and what is not a good show up rate. 60% show up rate is a really good baseline. Is a really good, hey, if we're at 60%, we probably shouldn't be spending a lot of time trying to optimize this or trying to improve this. We probably are better off utilizing that time and energy, focusing on something else in the business. Now, if it drops below 60%, this is a problem, and you are wasting a lot of time and energy on getting these calls booked only for them not to show. Anything above 60%, you're dominating it. If you're at 70%, 80%, you are absolutely crushing show up. And I actually recommend if you're at 70, 80%, you probably should turn this video off, because this is 20 minutes of your time that you could be utilizing on something else that maybe you aren't as proficient at. But I'm speaking to you, if your show up rate is at 60% or anything below 60%, you're going to gain a lot of insight in this video. 7 things in particular that I think can help get your show up rate to baseline, 60% or above, or more. So without further ado, let's get into point number 1 here. Now, I can make the argument that what I'm about to tell you, this first point, is the best point. When I look at all of the other six items on my sheet here, they are all extremely important and all will have an impact on whether your show up rate is good or bad. But this first one's really damn important. This first one can make a huge difference for you, especially in online coaching sales. Because with online coaching sales, we're selling a service, and that service solves a problem. And usually the prospect, the individual on the other side of the call, something happens in their life. There's an event, there's an occurrence where something happens and it triggers them emotionally to make a change. All right, I've been in the fitness space. My 10 years of online coaching have been in the fitness space. So I'm going to use a fitness example here, but this applies across the board, whether you're a mindset coach, a business coach, a career coach, a spiritual coach, a relationship coach. It's all the same premise. But let's use fitness as an example. So let's say you have an individual, okay? Let's say that individual has kids. All right, let's say the kids are coming of age where they want to play sports, and they want their parents to play in the yard and play these sports with them. Parents go out in the yard. Let's just say it's basketball. So they go out to the driveway and the kids playing, and 5 minutes later, the parents have to take a seat. The parents have to remove themselves from the activities. Why? Because they're out of shape. Kid kind of makes fun of them. Kid is also kind of sad. Kid is also kind of bummed because now the kid is playing by himself. And he wants to play with his parents, but his parents can't play because they're not fit enough. That triggers the parents emotionally. What are we doing? We're not going to be the best parents that we can be. Let's make a change. Let's commit to a fitness program. Now, the reason I give you all that backstory is because that emotion is highest the closest to the occurrence it is. So the seconds after that occurrence happens, the motivation and inspiration to make a change is at its peak. All right. The further and further away you get from that event, the lower and lower the motivation and inspiration to make a change is. So with that in mind, how does that tie back into your show up rate? There is a very specific data point that you guys need to be tracking. And that data point is 24-hour turnaround time. Okay. And here's what 24-hour turnaround time is. All right. You book a call. It's the percentage of calls that happen within a 24-hour window of them being booked. Here's what we've noticed. If that KPI is at 50%, your show-up rate's going to be pretty good. Anything above 50%, your show-up rate's going to be really solid. If that KPI is below 50%, your show-up rate is going to suffer. All right, and for the exact reason that I explained, the closer that we can have the call to the occurrence of the event that triggered them to want to accept the call in the first place, the higher likelihood we can capitalize on the emotional state that they are in and help them make this transformation by closing on the deal. All right, so it's very, very important that we, one, track our 24-hour turnaround time, and two, don't let it go below 50%. Okay, now I understand there are times where it's impossible to have a 24-hour turnaround time. Just scheduling, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out for the prospect, doesn't work out for you. You have to book the call 48 hours out, 72 hours out. You should always try to book the call the closest that you possibly can. All right, that's another principle that you should live by. All right, but if the call is booked further than 24 hours out, it is on you because you're the leader, right? Closers are leaders. You are the leader. You have to be in continual dialogue with this person. Don't just book the call and let them go to sleep and then just expect them to show up to this call, right? We should be in continual dialogue. Now, what does continual dialogue look like? Do you have to talk to these people all day long? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is, shoot them a message. Hey, really looking forward to our call. Here's a resource that I made today that, I think you would benefit from, right? Send them a little podcast, send them a little video, right? Keep them engaged. It could just be one message. Doesn't have to be this long dialogue, right? It could just be one message, right? If a call is booked 3 days out, you send them a message 24 hours out, 48 hours out, and then you send them a message confirming the call 72 hours out, okay? Now, these messages aren't just confirmations, right? The 24-hour out, the 48-hour out, these should be providing value. And we're going to get into that in just a second here. Now, the other thing I want to mention with 24-hour turnaround time, maybe you're watching this and you have a sales team, right? Or maybe you don't have a sales team. I guess this is really applicable if you're a solo coach or if you have a team. If you are noticing that it is impossible to yield 50% of your calls with a 24-hour turnaround time, and the reason is actually you or your team, meaning it is conflicts with your schedule, conflicts with your calendar, not the prospect's calendar, it is possible that you may need to hire somebody because you are getting so booked out that the next possible availability isn't until 48 hours out or 72 hours out. If you are at that point where it's impossible for you to yield 50% of your calls with a 24-hour turnaround time, it may be possible or may be time that you need to hire somebody so that we can open up more calendar space and increase our 24-hour turnaround time. Okay. That's all point number one. All right, if you're enjoying this, man, this is like some really good stuff. Like this is 10 years worth of experience that you guys are getting here in a short video, in a 20-minute video. So that's number one. If you guys are enjoying this, make sure you give it a little thumbs up. Make sure you leave a little comment letting me know that you're enjoying the content. And the best thing you can do, which is also free, is to subscribe. All right, let's get into point number two. Point number two, this is another KPI that correlates or comes back to your show up rate. And that's your reschedule rate. Okay. So this is the percentage of calls that cancel, no show, or request to reschedule that you successfully get back on the books. Now, the KPI is the exact same as 24-hour turnaround time. If you can get 50% of the appointments that requested to cancel, reschedule, or no-showed back on another call, that is going to dramatically increase your show up rate. All right, so that's another KPI. Those two, 24-hour turnaround time and reschedule rate, are directly correlated to the success of your show up rate. All right, so we have to keep that in mind. Now, here's another little tricky one. Okay, pay attention because this one's really important. And when it comes to tracking the data, let's say you had a call on the calendar, they didn't show, right? And then you rescheduled them and they showed. All right, they should only count towards the show column once. The first call they didn't show, so it's 0, they don't count. The second call they did show, so we do count that as a show, but it's only one booked appointment. So one booked appointment, right? One booked appointment didn't show, and then eventually they did show, right? So it kind of evens out where that one booked appointment does count as a show in the long run, but initially it doesn't count as a show. So we're not counting 2 booked appointments here. It's only one booked appointment. The first attempt they didn't show, they rescheduled, they did show. Now that one booked appointment reflects one show. All right, that's really important to make sure that your data is correct. Okay, when it comes to rescheduling calls, okay, here's another thing, and this is simple and basic, but the reason I say it is because people don't do it. You need to be continually following up with the people that request to reschedule, cancel, or no show. All right, my recommendation is on your CRM, your booking tracker, you have a section that you call your limbo section. All right, a limbo section is when a call was once booked, but now is not on any calendar. It's floating in limbo, so to speak, okay? So this is the list of people that were once booked at one time, but now are not on a calendar, okay? And we should be continuously following up with these individuals. Now, my favorite follow-up for this individual is, hey, Steve, sorry that you missed your call. I just want to know where we go from here. Should we close the file on this, or are you still interested in achieving XYZ goal so you can get XYZ outcome? And that outcome would be whatever their ultimate why is. So where do we stand on this? Should I close the file on this? ? Or are you still interested in achieving XYZ goal so you can reach XYZ outcome, which is the why? All right, that's point number 2. That's reschedule rate. We are moving on to point number 3. If you've ever questioned when and how you should do your pre-call confirmations, meaning when is the best time for you to reach out to your calls to confirm that they're going to show, I'm about to answer that for you. All right. So I used to think it was the morning of, all right? And I've done the morning of for a very long time. I've recently switched that, and by recently, I mean over the past 12 months, to the night before. And here's the reason why. People are very busy, and in the morning, usually they already have their day planned. And if you are not baked into your day, if you are not baked into their day, the likelihood of them saying, oh shit, yeah, I did have a call with that person, let me see if I could fit that in, is very low because their day's already planned. All right. So it's best to catch them the night before if they did forget so they can get you into their plans. All right. So what we do is we send our confirmation message the night before, confirming that they're going to still show up to the appointment the very next day. Okay. And then we also, in our confirmation message, want to make sure that we're utilizing the law of reciprocity. Okay. The law of reciprocity means I reach out, I give you something in return because you were given something, you feel obligated to give something in return. Now, in this scenario, giving something in return would be them showing up to the appointment. All right, wow, they went out of their way to send me this resource. They went out of their way to send me this thing that was tailored to me and my needs. I'm definitely going to show up to that call tomorrow. Okay, so always in your pre-call confirmations, make sure that we're providing them with some value and try to make it as customized as possible. Does this mean you need to create a brand new resource for them? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you probably know what their challenges are. You probably already have a resource that talks about that challenge or provides somewhat of a solution for that challenge. Pick the resource with intention and provide it to them. That's what I'm saying. Now, one other tricky thing you could do here with your pre-call confirmation is you can also confirm the call and then you can ask them a question saying, hey, for anybody that shows up to the appointment, we always like to give them a free resource. Now, typically we give them A or B. This would be option A or option B. Which one should I have prepared for you tomorrow, A or B? Okay, so what this does is this creates an incentive where they say, oh, okay, well, if I show up tomorrow, I'm going to get this resource. Okay, that's another thing that you could do. Now, continuing on here with the confirmations. So you want to send a confirmation the night before. If you don't hear from them, you want to send another follow-up the morning of. If you don't hear from them, you want to send another follow-up an hour before the call. You're probably like, holy shit, this is overwhelming. I'm going to address that point in a second. And then you want to still show up to the appointment even if you haven't heard from them. Why? Because you can rest easy knowing that you did your part. Okay. And also, there are plenty of times where you don't hear from them prior to the call, but they still show up anyways, because that's just who they are, right? They're not going to respond to the confirmation messages, but they'll be there, right? There's plenty of people out there like that. And if you just take the fact that they didn't answer you and don't show up to the Zoom meeting, that's not going to look very professional on your end. All right. So you show up to the Zoom meeting 10 minutes in. If they don't show, you pick up the phone and you call their cell phone 2 times. All right. I can't tell you how many times I've called their cell phone and they pick up and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This totally slipped my mind. Let's reschedule. And I get them rescheduled right on that phone call. Okay. You are probably missing out on a ton of people if you just picked up the phone and called them. If you had a set of balls and did that. I don't know why people are afraid to call people today. What's the barrier there? It's literally, you don't even see their face. Just pick up the phone and freaking call them. Okay. Now, addressing the point of like, Chad, that kind of seems overbearing. There are so many things competing for people's attention this day, right? And the thing that, and a lot of those things are things that don't provide that person any value. What you offer is providing them value, right? You are offering a coaching service that is providing them value. It is your moral and ethical obligation to follow up with those people to get them to show for the appointment, because you are a leader and you are creating transformation by selling them into this program. Okay. That's point number 3. Gah! Whoa! We are freaking crushing this, man. We are crushing this. I feel like we're really providing a lot of value today. All right. Number 4, lead quality. This is another reason why your calls aren't showing, because you're booking really shitty leads. Okay. I'm going to give you a really simple system that will help you process who you should book and who you shouldn't book. All right. I call this the lead grading system. So you can open up a Google Doc. You could do it old school like me on a yellow sheet here, but you're going to go 1 through 5. Okay. 5 would be the best possible lead ever. And then it goes descending ladder from there, with 1 being the worst possible lead ever. Okay. So in each of those categories, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're going to write all of the attributes that go into a 5 out of 5 lead, a 4 out of 5 lead, a 3 out of 5 lead, a 2 out of 5 lead, a 1 out of 5 lead. So you have a category for each individual lead. All right, from there, when you are booking calls or your team is booking calls, they are going to use the grading system as a guide. Here's how you're going to use it as a guide. You're not going to do a 1-call close or a 2-call close. You're going to do a hybrid close funnel. I feel a sneeze coming on. Hopefully we can get through it. You're going to do a hybrid close funnel. So 5s and 4s, 5 out of 5 leads, 4 out of 5 leads are automatically going to get booked for a 1-call close. 3s is going to be your discretion. Okay, your discretion here, right? Some 3s you might feel a little iffy about, and you book them for a 10-minute discovery call to save you time and to weed out bad leads and to warm up potentially people who would be good leads. And then the other, half, let's say, of 3s that you feel pretty good about, you'll book them for a 1-call close. 2s, if they are a 2 out of 5 lead, will always automatically get booked for a triage call. And then 1s will never get booked at all. Okay, this will save you so much time. I can't even explain. This will get you on calls with leads that are actually of quality. A lot of your show up problems are simply the fact that you have not defined what a good lead is and what a bad lead is, and you're just booking bad leads for calls, and those are people that are never going to show. All right, so lead quality is huge. Create the lead grading system. Okay, with number 5, this is actually in the booking process. A lot of people fuck up the booking process, and here are some really simple fixes that you can do to make this better. Number 1, we only want to accept 110% confirmations from our leads. All right, so when you pitch the call, right, and you pitch a time for the call, so you say, great, I can do tomorrow at 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. What's best for you, right? We don't want to accept any wishy-washy answers. All right, so if they say 10 a.m. might work, or pencil me in for 10 a.m., or let's try, or let's shoot for 10 a.m., that is all wishy-washy language. That is all somebody that is telling you something they want to hear, but are not actually going to show up for the appointment. You do not accept that language. Instead, you say, hey, no worries. It sounds like maybe that time doesn't 100% work for you. I really want to make sure that this does 100% work for you so that it's best for you and best for us. I can actually do tomorrow at 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. instead. Which of those times 100% work for you? And you get a time that they say can 100% work for them. Okay? Now, they're also going to respect you when you say that. Now, the second thing here in the booking process, and this is point number 6 here, but it's the second thing in the booking process, point number 6 overall, is getting their time zone and speaking in their time zone only. Okay? It's really funny. And you learn a lot in sales and marketing when you get into sales and marketing, but most people do not understand time zones. And there are a lot of times where a simple little error, a simple little time zone mistake will cause your show up rate to go dramatically down. All right. So here's how you're going to get their time zone. And then from here on out, you only ever speak in their time zone. You remove the work, you remove the thinking from your prospect, and it falls back on you. Okay. So here it is. You ready? So basically, you pitch them the call. They agree. They say, yes, I'm open to the call. The very next question you say is, amazing. What's your time zone? They provide you the time zone, and then you pitch them times in their time zone only. Okay. And then I'm going to give you a little bonus here. This actually wasn't even on my list. Do not send your calendar link. Okay. Do not send your calendar link. There are so many coaches out there that send the calendar link. You are missing out on a lot of opportunity. People are lazy. They'll be like, oh, I'll get to that later. And then they end up never getting to it. Okay. Because you sent the calendar link. Instead, what you're going to do, you're going to pitch them the times that you can do within a 24-hour window. You're going to get them to confirm that they can do a time 110%. And then you're going to say, if 10 a.m. 100% works for you, what's your email and phone number? And I'll get that call booked for you. You'll ask for their information and you will book them in, not them. So it's in your full control. You'll have a lot more. That's not really a show up tip, but you'll book a lot more calls and you'll get a lot more conversations through to the booking if you do it that way. Okay. So that's point number 6, speaking in their time zone. Even when you do like the pre-call confirmation, at any point beyond that, you only speak in their time zone. All right. The last one I'm going to give you here for show up rate is be very clear in providing next steps. Okay. This is still the booking process, right? So when they are officially booked, you have them booked in your calendar, it's all done. You want to be explicit on what they can expect next. Why? Because this is pre-framing, right? If they are left to wonder, if they are left with no instructions, then guess what? They're just going to go about it their own way. This at least increases the odds that they are going to go about it the way that you are dictating or instructing them to go about it. Okay, so in those next steps, you're going to say, congratulations, we're officially booked. I'm really excited to speak with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. your time zone. Here's what you can expect next. Number 1, this is going to be the Zoom link for the call. Boom, Zoom link. If you have a password, here's the Zoom password. Okay, great. Now I want you to take 60 seconds. Do this right now. Don't wait. Fill out this pre-call application. It's going to provide me with the information to best serve you on that call. Respond back to this message when that's 100% done. Last thing here, I'm going to give you XYZ resource, or here are XYZ testimonials, some sort of value for you to chew on over the next 24 hours so you can learn more about us and what we do prior to that call as well. Sound fair? Sound good? Great. Reminder, text me when that pre-call application is done. Great. You get them to text, bada bing, bada boom, we're good. All right, y'all. Those are all 7 things. There are a lot more things that can improve your show up rate. I wanted to give you the 7 things that I think matter most, and this is exactly it. We got 24-hour turnaround time. We got reschedule rate. We got night before confirmations. We have lead quality in your lead quality grading system. We have accepting only 100% booking confirmations, speaking in their time zone, and providing clear and explicit next steps. That's the end, y'all. If you guys enjoy this, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and continue to act first.